Right. So when we are working on Guidewire data model, we must be knowing about how this workflow process will be, deployment workflow. So here I'm going to explain you on the stepwise basis based on the screenshots that is taken. The first screenshot where the first thing that we do the project validation here in the first level. Let me mark it. Okay, this is the first one where the step one where we do the project validation solves. So whenever we are performing the project validation centers, etc., as in when example I'm taking for Guidewire Claim Center. So Guidewire Claim Center where we can initiate the claim center process, where we can validate the code that is already been written. Right. So make sure whenever you do the project validation, the validation error should be zero, okay? Because it's a basic thing, okay? Anyway that you are aware of. So that automatically you will be getting build successful here. This is the first step. Second, you need to, Second, you need to create the configuration archive, because in the creation of configuration archive, you can see, so whenever you are creating the configuration archive, we need to create the configurations. So where we have in the claim center here, wherein we can see the configuration under the deployment server, etc., where we have to create a configuration archive. So wherein we need to provide the whatever the output zip file that is here, that has to be extracted, and we need to provide the configuration archive here. This is the second thing. So second we need to do. The third, you need to do the deployment target. Deployment target where we need to do the deployment servers here. You can see here, because the deployment servers must be integrated or interconnected. So whenever you are integrated with deployment servers that you are integrated with, wherein we must make sure whatever the URL that is there, at the same time port number should be the same. So that automatically you will get a status option called .connected. Okay, that is where deployment target will be there. So make sure the deployment servers has to be connected properly here. This is this third one. Second, we need to upload and integrate. Okay, whenever you have uploaded, whenever you have deployed it, you need to deploy this in the Guidewire development server, which is already been integrated, because make sure we need to integrate all that. So here, this is important, right? So you can always try to see this console part. Okay, in this console part, you can see whatever is loaded, right? So whatever the server that is connected. So if there is any kind of new versions that we have, etc., everything that you can see. So automatically deploying of the server will be taken place here. This is the fourth step that we generally follow. This is one more thing. So once the fourth step is completed, the next step or the fifth step where data model will be done. Here you can see where we will be performing the data model update. So whenever you are updating the data model, we require, right? So what are the different data model updates that have been located? So wherein you need to update whatever the rows or column that is taken. Okay, at the same time, whatever the different new columns or any kind of, for example, if there is any change that you have made in the new column, let's say you have added new columns to the existing data model under ETX file. Generally, we have ETX files, you know that, star.etx, there you have to make the changes. If it's an entity file, if it's a type list file, we will be making changes on the .ttx. So either you are adding a new columns here, we have added 4 new columns, at the same time, one modified table has been added. So that we have to be updated. The database updation is required under the data model update. Last step about the deployment has to be succeeded here. So you need to deploy it, wherein you have to deploy. So wherein here you can see wherein we have to deploy it. So whenever the application that is deployed or the requirement that is taken is already deployed, automatically you can see data model and configuration changes successfully deployed in the database updated. This is how generally the deployment process will be generally happen. Okay, whenever we are working on the deployment part as far as the Guidewire is concerned, right? So data model deployments will do. For one of the requirement, as an example of claim center that we take, this is how generally this deployment. First about the project validation has to be done. Second, we need to create the configuration archive. Third, about the deployment target. Fourth, we need to upload the integrate. And fifth, you need to update the data model update has to be made. Finally, deployment has to be successfully completed. This is what generally how we do this.